Okay. So, hello everyone. I'm Ilan and I'm reporting from India. So, I'm going to present today about the greenhouse, which will be working on a Mars habitat. So, as of me, I'm a resource associate from India and I work under the organization of SDNX. So, here I'm guided by Professor Julio to talk about the greenhouse facility in a Mars habitat. So, let's move on to the next slide. Okay, these are some of the aspects which we will talk about today. So first we'll start up with the internal design of a greenhouse. So basically the internal design of a greenhouse would be to establish a self-sustaining and a life-supporting habitat for food and oxygen protection. So if it is focusing on a food and oxygen production, the inputs will be energy, water, nutrients, CO2, and human labor, and the output would be the oxygen, water, and biomass, which will be used. I mean, the oxygen and water will be used by the crew for for consumption purposes and for other intravehicular activity purposes, and also the biomass would be used for consumption, and also it will be recycled, which we will see in the next coming slides. So typically a bioregenerative life support system follows some of the following methodologies, which will be light. So how the light is generated is that either it can be natural or we can use the LEDs. So for a plant growth, more than it is the color of the LED can be more of purple, that kind of color, because plants, as we know, they are green in color, they reflect green light much. So research has proved that when plants are under ultraviolet light, which is of purple or indigo color, they grow better. So the greenhouses in Mars in future will involve LEDs, which will be of darker colors, or the capturing of the natural light which enters the atmosphere of the Mars, in future. So the next constraint will be temperature, which will be either artificial heat regulation, or else the radiation from the atmosphere of the Mars can be filtered and directed towards plant growth. So then the CO2 generation would be extracted from the crew's respiration, or it can be captured from the Mars atmosphere through extravehicular activities or EVA. So this is one of the methodologies which have been sent to Mars right now, and we'll be talking more about it in the coming slides. So fourth will be the water generation, which will either be a recycled water or thawing of the polar or subsurface ice, which is stuck, in the Mars surface right now. So that will be done under EVA as well. So we all know that soil is much more important rather than all the other constraints. So how will soil be generated for plant growth in a Martian habitat? So that will be either earth based, I mean the soil which we acquire from earth, or it will be totally dependent on the ISRU. So the soil which we retrieve from the EVA activities can be treated for efficient plant growth, and I am researching about one of those kind of research in India. If I get time at the end of the presentation, I'll talk about it too. So this diagram makes us clear of how will the recycling system inside a greenhouse it works. So basically, from a greenhouse, I mean the plants they give out oxygen. So that will be that will be sent to the crew's respiration process, and the crew's waste will be sent to the bioreactor toilet. I mean, it is in the Martian habitat. The toilet will also react as a bioreactor, and this it majorly relates to the sanitation center. And whatever the waste we get that is pre-digested will be sent to a microbial composter, which will extract the carbon dioxide, and it will be filtered to remove just the carbon dioxide at a correct level and to regulate it to the greenhouse again for plant growth. And also the carbon dioxide from the crew's respiration will be circulated inside the greenhouse, and the plant waste which is generated from the greenhouse will be sent to the bioreactor, plus the crew waste. So this is kind of a cycle, and efficiently maintained, this cycle will lead to it is a self-sustained system. So that is why it is called a bioregenerative life support system. So this is my idea for the internal structure of a greenhouse. So this is the entrance. This is basically the first floor, which is called the main area. There will be a common area for recreation in the center. As you can see, there is dormitory in the left side, and there is gym facility, that is the relaxation area, and a kitchen, and it is equipped with a toilet. So this vertical wall will be extended to all the three floors, which is nothing but vertical farming, which is used for vertical farming, which we will see in the coming slides. So a dormitory is basically for persons who take care of the greenhouse. So they can be staying inside this greenhouse because um, the protocol should be carried out in a routine manner. So it would be better for the technicians or the maintenance engineers to stay in a rotating manner inside the greenhouse itself. So this is a relaxation area. I mean, it can be equipped in a greenhouse as well rather than the main center. So there is a kitchen where we can, this leads to the third floor. So the third floor is where the plants are grown. So that can be directly taken down to the ground floor, and that is why it is connected to the kitchen. So it will equip the dining as well. So there will be a little store shelf for cooking and other activities. So in the second floor, it equips the laboratory according to my idea. So even that connects to the third floor. So this is the testing center, and also a 3D printer is over there. This is the workspace. So this is a germplasm where the seeds or the plant roots will be stored for further research or working on it to check the DNA assessment or the microbial capability of the plants for efficient growth. So there are not only some major constraints which we see through our eyes, like we see water, nutrients, or I mean the soil or the sunlight, any light that is needed for a plant's growth. But we don't know how the micronutrients or in a DNA level, in the epigenetics level, the plant growth works. So that is why um, a testing center in a greenhouse is important to know all the constraints which aid to a plant growth, which directly relates to the food and oxygen production in a space habitat. So these are some of the storage spaces I've given. This is for logistics, and these are for the various type of instruments which we will use in this exact kind of laboratory. So this will be the third floor where there is place for small plants growth as well as large plants growth. So as the systems improve and as we learn more about how the space habitat it works completely, we can extend our research to different kinds of plants. So that is also the research is also going on around the world. I mean, in the astrobotany field. So there will be electrical systems and delivery systems connected to all the sides of the greenhouse. There will be sensors monitoring 24 by 7. So that I've given a composting space over here. So this will be connected to the bioreactor. So this directly connects to the, as you can see, it directly connects to the toilet and also the kitchen where the composter can be extended and all the waste will be recycled over there. So that's it for this. So all these things will be monitored in a greenhouse, so that it will be explained more in the further slides. So this is yeah, a design of completely a bioregenerative system inside a greenhouse. So this is uh, a design of NASA's project. So there will be lower, middle, and upper level, and they have various techniques going on over there. So as we can see, everything is connected over here through sensors or through pipes, and everything is monitored for a smooth functioning. So this is one of the design proposed by Yash Rathod in the mission 47. So as we can see, this is an inflatable habitat design. Inflatable in the sense, we take it occupies only minimum space when we take from Earth, and it inflates itself when taken to the Martian atmosphere. So you can see the three floors clearly over here. So on the top layer, it will be covered by a transparent glass dome where plants will be grown. So this will be a typical structure when you see the greenhouse from outside. So some of the system design in the greenhouse habitat and how they are maintained is that, so these will be the systems which form the basis for a greenhouse functioning. That will be cultivation system, nutrient delivery system, air management system, the illumination system, and the thermal control system. So all these are related to the temperature and water constraint, nutrient constraints, which are more essential for a greenhouse functioning. Some of the subsystems which are involved in the greenhouse are water cooling system, air heat exchanger, radiative surface moderation, estimated crop production. So, for a smooth functioning of a greenhouse, the maintenance and the system designs would involve all these parameters. So, what are the general requirements for plant growth in Earth and space are compared over here? So, on Earth, we have to take care of only a little number of constraints like sunlight or essential gases, soil composition, and water. So, these are in an agricultural space, these are easily available, but when we go to space or other planets, be it moon or Mars, um, these constraints are sometimes absent, so it has to be created on the surface. So these are some of the aspects which will we have to take care, that is radiation, gravity shielding, sunlight, air composition, and soil composition. So we are going to see about what are the applied technologies. So these are some of the technologies involved, which will be biotechnology for the health testing of plant and soil. It also involves hybridization of plants, and also seed cultivation for for the next generation plants, which can be more efficient than which we are growing now, which is more adapted to a space environment. So we don't know all those yet. So that is why biotechnology is important to take into a space habitat in future, so that we can get to know more about the plants which already grow good in space and extend them for efficient food production and oxygen production. And microbiology is really important because according to me there are microbiomes or several microorganisms which aid more in a plant growth, which in turn successfully it leads to other activities as well. So microbiology will involve microanalysis, the microorganism assist, that is chemosynthesis or nitrogen fixation, and how the soil microbiome content is present. So there is the next another important topic, which is bioinformatics, which involves germplasm or seed vault. Seed vault is somewhere where seeds will be stored, which are more efficient. It's like a catalog which we can see and we can choose seeds from it. So that's what is seed vault. And a DNA assessment, which is very important to understand how a plant growth or its own environment is affecting in a micro scale, even smaller than a micro scale. So that is where bioinformatics comes. So this also involves genetics and epigenetics as well. Data analytics. So in the forthcoming future, everything will be automated, and that will be it helps more when it comes to space, where everything should be made automated rather than manually. So there is no we can't risk manned error to occur in a space habitat or anything what is happening in space. So that is where data analytics comes. And in a greenhouse, it will be wireless communication and storage of plant data. It will be like a it will be like a series of virtual catalogs. Engineering is very important when a greenhouse is considered, and that would involve HVAC systems, hydroponics and aeroponics, sensors which monitor the plant growth and also the nutrient supply. There will be pressure regulation and also temperature control modules, etc. And the nutrient and water storage delivery system, which is also much more important for efficient plant growth. And there will be 3D printing technology. So this can be it can be extended to various other phenomena as well, like growing meat in the lab. So this will happen in the laboratory of the second floor. This will also help in to 3D print little things which we need for a plant growth when it is required. So for examples of operation involved are given over here. So those will be like sample preparation or the exposure conditions. There will be survival assessment, example cultivation test, or the membrane damagement, or the metabolic activity assessment assay. And also the DNA integrity, as I spoke before, that would involve DNA extraction, the DNA integrity, and also the shelf life analysis, what air quality and gas exchange is also very important. So these are the operations which will be involved. So what you're seeing here, this is some kind of an advanced astroculture support system, which is nothing but this consist of sensors which will take care of plants in a micro level. like how they interact with the presence of nutrients in soil or water, and how they respond to temperature, the direction they grow, or how elongated the root system is, whether the root system it spreads deep or it spreads in the sideways. So all this will be monitored in some kind of advanced support system. So that is the picture you're seeing over here. So what will be that is that it controls the information of acquisition, monitoring, and continuous control for the operations. And it also monitors plant health and growth, non-invasive and autonomous. So all everything will be automated in few years to come. So that is what we are seeing the initial stage of it. So that will be either computer vision guided, and it will be in visible bandwidth, infrared, that is the thermal camera. It would have a thermal camera, for the to measure the bandwidth. And it also involves a near infrared, which is a color camera. So these are the constraints which you see: NIR filter or monochrome camera with filter waveband, evaluate the canopy temperature. So specific aspects have a specific functioning over here. So that is what we are seeing. So this is involved with this diagram. Vegetation indices and crop morphology. Of course, different type of vegetation it produces, and what is the morphology of each crop. So all these will be mentioned with specific type of sensors and a specific type of instruments which are being developed and will be directly related to a greenhouse operation. So I've explained bioinformatics for germplasm and DNA extraction over here. So this is nothing but it's kind of a testing bed. So where we will allow cross pollination and collect samples. I mean different kinds of samples. So we store some of the samples and we extract DNA from different kind of the different kind of the samples, and it will be sequenced to check how each type of seeds or each type of samples react with various other constraints, and which are more efficient, and it will be forming a comparison between all those things, and it will be cataloged, and the systems will be automated according to that. So the image what you see over here in the left is global seed vault, which is situated in Svalbard, Norway. Here there are thousands and more than 10 thousands of seeds stored in this vault. This is in the high Arctic. Yeah, but this the functioning of this seed vault. I mean, the purpose of this seed vault would be, it was designed because of a doomsday scenario basis, where if all the plants, above the surface, they were destroyed due to some kind of radiation exposure or nuclear explosion, the seeds can be taken from here, and the vegetation can be started initially from all those seeds. That is the main point behind it. But this can be extrapolated to a space habitat where we can store seeds to test their DNA, and yeah, the epigenetics come over there, and we can see which seeds are more resilient and use them. So this is a seed moisture test. That is one of the example which the seeds will be tested for moisture content, and you're seeing the storage facility with each canisters. So yeah, so this is an automated system, which is an automated nutrient delivery system. As we can see, the nutrients are stored in the tanks. So this is connected to the PC, which will monitor how much amount of nutrients and specific amount of nutrients which will be supplied to specific amount of plants. So this is entirely automated, as you see over here. There are injection pumps which are directly connected to the aquaponic system, which injects amount of nutrients directly to the root system of specific type of plants and the specific number of plants. There are sensors which are functioning 24 by 7, which it mediates for proper functioning. So also there are lots of sensors, and this controls the release, so how the I mean the time period and the amount, etc. So this will be something which we will see in a greenhouse when we establish in Mars as well. So this is the HVAC system. As we know, temperature and air regulation is also much more important when the plants are growing in a closed environment agriculture system. So that's where HVAC system comes, which is nothing but a heat, ventilation, and air conditioning system, where the heating will be it will follow the processes of conduction, convection, radiation. Also, it will involve factors affecting the heat loss and the heat loss calculations, the minimum design temperatures, other heating systems, and also the design considerations. So how will the ventilation work is that it will have exhaust fans in the end wall, pressure fans, evaporating cooling. These are some of the methods which where the cooling, if essential, will be done, that is evaporating or mist cooling. And also there will be some natural ventilation, but the natural ventilation will be taken into consideration when it is space habitat. So as we can see, the outside air is entering and it is filtered and then it is supplied to the greenhouse. So it is like a circulation system. This can be supplied to also the, as we saw, the first floor also contains the recreation area and also the dormitories, so the air circulation will be maintained according to that. It is also automated, and the maintenance technician will also take care of that. So yeah, that is what we are seeing in a lateral and peripheral view over here. So now we can talk little about the hydroponic system, that how is the nutrient supply for a plant in a space habitat would work. So the picture what you see in the top left is the some of the radishes grown in the veggie project which is being currently conducted on the ISS. So what you see is like plants, some plants grow under soil and some grow above the soil. So everything differs according to the plant's needs. So what we see over here, I mean the since radishes grow below the soil, it is dipped in the nutrient system. So that is what we are seeing in here. So hydroponic systems are of different types, namely nutrient film technique, ebb and flow, hydroponic wick technique. So all these involve a nutrient solution where it will be directly taken to the plant root, as you see in the first two techniques, or it will be soaked and only the wick, I mean only the part of it will be sent to the plant's roots where it absorbs the nutrients. So all these can be made into a supplement, just like how for us, if we lack any type of vitamins or minerals in our body, we take supplement tablets. That is how it will work for plants as well, where any water content or nutrient content, it will be supplied with whatever the essential nutrients the plants need. As we see here, these are some of the nutrients which ought to be taken from the water for a plant's growth, and from the air it has to take all these nutrients. So if not present, these all will be supplemented in a nutrient solution or in a controlled condition. So that is what we see in a collective manner in this slide. So this is how it will be established in a space habitat too. So as we saw the vertical wall in first three floors of the greenhouse interior design, so this it will be typically like this. So as you can see, the plants are grown in kind of a pipes. So this is nothing but a vertical farming, which will accumulate more plants and also save space. So this is one of an important aspect which can be considered in a space habitat, because we need more space which we not have. So that is why this can be encouraged more. So the next topic will be possible resources to generate in situ or transported from earth. So this is where our creativity works. We can come up with a lot of techniques, like how we can improve other niche areas in a space habitat. So I have come up with ISRU, which is very essential when we establish a habitat in lunar or a Martian surface. So that involves EVA or IVA activities, where soil collection is essential for a greenhouse. So EVA and IVA, it differs for other centers, but for greenhouse, um, soil collection will be and the most important thing. So next would be the seed sampling. Seed sampling would it would be something more essential, because that's where the plants grow. Without seed, we can't imagine plants growing in a soil or in a completed manner. So that is where this we have to consider it more. And also microorganisms cultivation, there are few microorganisms which aid us in various activities more than what we can understand. So the research on microorganisms can be emphasized, and it is happening around the world right now, which will be it will be infused with plant growth technology as well in the future. Fungi and microalgae for biofuel and plant growth, etc. So algae species in the Archaea kingdom, they are more versatile than we know. So I'm doing a research currently on fungi that can, help in efficient plant growth in a Martian surface. So used properly, the fungi on microalgae itself it forms symbiotic biosystem where everything is effectively managed, and it itself becomes a good cycle, and we can monitor it, and if it is monitored properly, it becomes as we talk, it becomes a regenerative biohabitat. Also, heat production is important both for functioning of the crew and for the plants. That would be in a Mars surface, it would be to shield from the SEPs, that is the solar energetic particles. As we know, Mars has very thin atmosphere, and also the radiation filter, which is more essential. We should equip ourselves and take in considerations of the radiation filter when we go for the EVA activities. That totally involves on the suits of the astronauts or astronauts. And for a greenhouse, the radiation filter will be it will be shielded in the dome with other materials like astro materials, which are used for the construction of the greenhouse. Also, the energy production has to be kept in mind, because after some time we would be cut off from supplies from Earth. So it will take a nearly lots of time. The time frame window is really less when it comes to space travel. So the energy production has to be generated from the surface of other entities like Moon or Mars. So that would be taking advantage of solar energy or wind energy. So when it comes to Mars, we can access wind energy more on on Moon. So that's where energy production comes, and water extraction is much more important both for the crew and for the plants, which in Mars we can take from the polar caps, where we have evidence that ice has been logged, and it can be either through thawing of the ice and treatment of it for water extraction. And also we know that on the Mars surface there are lots of clay deposits, where the technique of the clay heat treatment comes. So we can develop all those from here, from the data we collect from all the orbiters and landers right now on Mars. But when we go to Mars in future decades, all this can be applied over there. So we are preparing for future right now. And CO2 capture and treatment from Mars. So we know that 96 percentage of the atmosphere of Mars is composed of CO2, and it gives us a big leverage to extract oxygen from it. So that's where MOXIE comes in. So it's rovering around Mars right now. As we know, Percy is equipped with with an instrument called MOXIE, which is Mars oxygen in situ extraction, which is nothing but an electrolysis technique by which it splits the it captures the CO2 from the atmosphere, and it splits the atoms molecules of the carbon into oxygen. So if it is a success, that will be a futuristic technique which we will use in our future habitats. And also composting. So all the waste we generate, it has to be recycled and composed in a space habitat as well. So some of the resources that can be transported from Earth when we consider a greenhouse, or engineering facilities for aquaponics or hydroponics, and the construction materials, as I told, for a greenhouse or other centers. And also initially we have to take the plant seeds from any seed walls, or you know obtained from any extreme varieties of plants. And also soil simulants and backup soil. When we run out, we don't have to run out of soil, so we have to have backup soil, microorganisms, etc. And when this is considered, we should also abide by the planetary protection policies, so we don't have to jeopardize anything over there. So this is an efficient plant growth diagram where, as we can see, there are constraints which act below the soil and above the soil, and everything should be taken care of in a balanced manner. So what we are seeing here in the right corner is that these are the microscopic structures of cyanobacteria. So some interesting fact that sometime Earth was devoid of, or I mean producing microorganisms. So these were the organisms which set the stage for life to emerge. So these are microorganisms which were they were thriving under rocks or hydrothermal vents where they produced oxygen. I mean, like how we use oxygen and we respire carbon dioxide. These organisms, they use up the atmosphere. I mean, the early earth, I'm talking about the early earth, whatever the gases or atmosphere present over there, they used up and they synthesized oxygen, which directly led to the creation of the cycle of photosynthesis, which in turn directly relates to the plant growth. So if not for all these bacteria or microorganisms or maybe viruses in the early earth, we would have been here today. So if we go to Mars and we tend to terraform it in future, maybe all these archaea and bacteria kingdom, they can help us rather than I mean, manual labor is much more important, but when it comes to terraforming a big planet, we can follow the same scale what earth followed. So that is where the cyanobacteria comes in. Also, I've put a picture of how fungi is helpful. So these are different types of fungi and they're different help whatever they can help for a plant's efficient growth. So the next would be the management of a greenhouse. So the organizational structure for a greenhouse would typically, it is nothing but a chief, his assistant or his or her assistant, and under them there would be a researcher, a maintenance engineer, or a chef. So these are some of the positions and what will be their profile and their day-to-day duties in a space habitat. Chief is a person who has background in agricultural sciences, and their duties would be to overall check of the protocols, managing the crew, and also the routine checks and protocols followed. um, the assistant would be someone who knows about major sciences as listed over here, and their duties would be to report to the chef food rationing, water quality check, sensors, and amount of food supplied to the crew. The researcher would be someone who know more about the biological or astrobiological sciences. They take care of or monitor the plant health, nutrient and biomass generation, gene research, microbiome research, plant oxygen supply, etc. So the chef would be someone who knows to cook, and their duties would be to take care of the menu of the day, the resources for cooking, and also the composting and the amount of food if they supply for each crew. And the maintenance engineer would be someone who knows instrumentation or engineering, and they test the equipments and the sensors if any structural damage to the external structure of the greenhouse or the internal. So these are some of the analog sites on present on earth. So this is the Amadi crew, and what you see over here is the extravehicular activity done in the MDR, is the Mars Desert Research Station present at Utah. So the topics of training, what are the astronauts supposed to be trained, and some of the YouTube videos related to it, or I have covered rearing and caring for plants, cooking, which will involve mostly vegan in the initial phase, and also use of phytotherapy and indigenous medicine, which I will talk about in the coming slides, ISRU, instrumentation and engineering, and growing space and meat in space. So this is the resources needed for a week. For a person, for a day, it will be 3 liters of water, and the food will be 2.5 kg, and the oxygen consumption for a person per day will be 11,000 liters. And for 5 days, it will be 30 liters, 25 kgs, and 1,10,000 liters of oxygen consumption. So, a greenhouse should accumulate a proper amount of plants or food production according to this constraints, which is, it's a big thing to take care of. So this will be the guidelines which can be extended to other facilities. For engineering facility, it would be development of instruments or equipments like sensors or pipes or tubes, etc. It will also involve energy supply and energy transmission between two facilities, and also this it can be used as a storage facilities for be it shelf life of plants or for food production, etc. The main station will help the greenhouse in terms of power supply, oxygen supply, and it also it forms as a recreational area too. The sanitation center is much more related to the greenhouse rather than other centers, because that is where the biomass would be recycled, where composting would be done, water recycling would be done, and also the CO2 generation and recycling would be done. So this picture is Habitat Mart is one of the in-person missions happened. So this is a futuristic simulation of Mars greenhouse. So how will be the kitchen or food center associated with the greenhouse is that in terms of food supply, fresh vegetables, waste management, composting, nutrient and oxygen supply. So EVA is something very important when it consider every other facilities. So it will involve soil microbiome, soil sampling, lab testing, the clay treatment when it comes to Mars, and water accumulation and treatment technique as we discussed prior. You see, what we are seeing here is a greenhouse, I mean a self-sustained greenhouse. The all the constraints are put inside it and it is monitored from externally. So this is how typically it will be on Mars too in some day. So this is another EVA we see over here which have been happened on Earth. This is also the MDRS crew which is situated in the Utah desert. As we can see, they are doing geological sampling, that is collection and understanding of the terrain more. So what are the protocols which are followed in a greenhouse? That would be the HVAC is much more important than rather than others, because air circulation and heating ventilation is much important in in a plant's growth. So this is this is a comparison of how the temperature and the environment closely works together for ventilation or air recirculation and heat supply. So when the crew, this is a separated image of where the crew will stay, and the greenhouse monitoring will be it is mixed over here. So that's the image what you see. And the next protocols will involve pressure regulation, sensor check, wastewater management, any leakage in the system which is very it has to be taken care of. There should not be any intrusion of system, be it like the biomass shouldn't get mixed with the water which we consume. So all those should be taken care of, and it all will be automated and taken care of. And oxygen level check, it should not go above or below any levels of human respiration. And it is also it relates to the plants as well. Also the biomass generation, plant selection, disposal and sustainable usage. Yeah, so we don't want to grow unwanted plants. So that's where management of plant selection comes. And the protocols for contamination, as I told, we don't want any forward or backward contamination, either inside the habitat or outside. So those protocols should be taken care of very seriously. And yeah, when it comes to a space system, the protocols of safety are much more important, which includes the intrusion of wastewater, leakage of CO2 into the habitat, run out of food rationing, virus and bacterial contamination, health issues due to food, microbial overgrowth, proper soil treatment, proper disposal of waste items. So, all these are at least one of the points in this can jeopardize the situation to an extent we can't even imagine. So, all these have to be taken care of in a serious manner. So some of the protocols for entertainment is that renovation in food menu. I mean, like everybody can come up with a new innovative menu in a manner of rotational cooking, where we tend to eat, spaces somewhere people from every background and every geographical and cultural backgrounds join together. So we can come up with cooking and rotational cooking, where we get to eat different types of food. So that will be something which will also help in the psychological behavior of astronauts. And learning of phytotherapy and usage of respective indigenous medicines. So this is one of the paper I'm working on, where we can come up with some of the indigenous medicines which we have been grown with and applied in space technologies. That is called as the phytotherapy. And usage of recreational plants for decorative and calming purposes. For example, there is small shrubs, plants like lavender or basil, which can be grown for recreational purposes, which have calming properties. They can also be used for decorational things. So this all aids in the psychological well-being of astronauts. So those are the things for entertainment. And some of the protocols for food microproductions are that it is algae microproduction for plant growth, biodiesel production, etc. As I discussed before, algae and the fungi kingdom, they can help aid in plant growth and biodiesel production if used properly. Yeah, this point I've discussed earlier, that is small plants such as basil, lavender, mint, etc. They have calming and additive properties which can be used for recreational purposes. And also the lab grown meat as food supplement and change of the daily menu. So this 3D printing can help us with this. Initially there will be vegan food, but as the technologies grow, we can think about lab grown meat, which will be a supplement and change of menu. Plants that can be consumed raw, example basil or carrot, onion, they can be consumed raw. So they save time of cooking and also the resources for cooking. So those plants can be more encouraged in the initial phase for a greenhouse habitat. So these are some of the protocols for 3D printing, which will be plants, containers, shovels, clippers, plant rearing tools, pipes, thermometer, etc. Some of the spin-offs which can be used in Earth are, this is the typically a greenhouse on Earth. It functions in the following manner. That is, it uses the solar energy. The inner climate will be monitored. That will be, to control the plant growth, to how it is growing, in what direction, and all, so all those things. And watching soil parameters, how much water is needed, and monitoring the outer environment, controlling the inner climate. So all these will be integrated into a wireless communication. All these can be extrapolated to other systems, like example, drip irrigation for arid and semi-arid mountainous area. So this area is present in India and Tamil Nadu, called Salem. This is my, it's my old town. So what we see over here is they have laid down pipes which is used for drip irrigation. So this place is actually an arid region, which is mountain and devoid of much water. So wherever you turn, it will be dry. So what they have come up with, this is a drip irrigation, where every plant is planted in an ordered manner, and water is sent to them, or the plants use the water in a very regulated manner. So all these can be, it is interchangeable. So all these techniques can be used in Earth, and it can be extended to a good extent. Place So these are the constraints of how a drip irrigation works. So what are the advantages is that it conserves water and it also saves money. So, another guideline to be used in daily life on Earth would be cultivation of medicinal plants. So, this is somewhat something that inspired me from my background, that is Siddha or Ayurveda, where the plants which we grow, which grow beside us in our environment or immediate environment, they have different types of medicinal properties which can be taken in a daily food, also in medicinal purposes, etc. So following traditional and indigenous methods to treat ailments, maintaining overall health, all these can be extrapolated to a space habitat too. So we can test it over here, and these can result in very good results when we take all these to a space habitat too. Some of Another thing which can be much more encouraged here on Earth is organic composting. So the amount of vegetable or organic waste each household produces, it goes to 90% of it goes to untreated waste. But when it is treated properly, we can develop our own organic manure in every household, wherever, irrespective of any geographical background. So what are the advantages is that we can grow our own food on a terrace or whatever the little area we are left with, and it also leads to entrepreneurship. So we can develop our entrepreneurship skills with all those techniques. So some of the SDGs which are involved in a greenhouse habitat is, there is 17, but we can see nearly more than 10 aspects of SDGs. So it means that if a greenhouse is properly used, all the 17 SDGs can come into a single border. So that's how important is greenhouse in Earth or in space. So some of the SDGs which are immediate are no poverty, zero hunger, good health, affordable and clean energy, economic growth, industry innovation, infrastructure, sustainable cities, responsible consumption, climate action, and partnership for goals. So these are some of the references where I've taken my sources, and also this is an extendable reading where we can get to know more about the current research happening in space habitats or greenhouse around the world. So this is some of the personal contacts where we can connect me, and I'm going to leave the screen as such so that it helps others. Thank you so much for listening to me. So that's the end of my presentation.